Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network. We are back past the frozen tundra. Finally got some people in studio. Thank you to my fearless co-host for this episode as we trekked through the snow in my backyard and the ice,
Yes.
the treacherous sort of landscape that we have in the backyard towards the studio. But we're going to be talking about Marvel's newest series, Wonder Man, on Disney Plus. It came out last week. You guys could have binged the whole thing at this point. Hopefully you did. If you're watching this episode, I'm going to be one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined this time by Michael Peniston.
Hey, everybody.
And Vinny Albano.
Hello, hello.
All right, so we're back on our Marvel grind. It's been a minute. It's been a while. I mean, I remember the last Marvel series we tried to cover, excuse me, was Agatha All Along. We didn't get through it. You actually finished the show. I never finished it.
Oh, you never?
I never wound up
Really?
finishing. I heard it was good. I know kind of a little bit of what happens. I know at least like the big major things.
Mhm.
The other series that came out after that was Ironheart. Still haven't watched it,
Okay.
so I
finished
can't.
that.
Okay,
I did
I've
finish
heard not great things,
that. Yeah,
but
it's not great.
this one was kind of thrown under the radar because
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot of press for it.
Yeah.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen, the lead of this series, who plays Simon Williams, he was doing. I think he showed up to maybe it was the Thunderbolts premiere or the Fantastic Four premiere
Fantastic.
in
Four.
character,
Yeah.
kind of just laying the lay of the land for what a little bit of kind of inside baseball of what this show and the tone might be like. And so other than that, nothing for Wonder Man. But this is a Marvel Spotlight series, which for people who may know or even care, this is kind of their other thing that doesn't necessarily completely align with canon, or it's something where they just feel like you can just hop into the show and you don't need to know anything going into it or afterwards, and you can still have a good time with it. I know that the Werewolf by Night special was Marvel Spotlight. I think there was another Marvel Spotlight. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if Moon Knight was or not. I don't know if it was. Might have been.
I think you could count it as.
It's similar. It's similar
Yeah.
in terms of how it's a very different story than what Marvel is typically telling.
Yeah.
But this is a series that is. I mean, this is the lazy way to explain it for people, but it's the studio within Marvel. That's really what it is. It takes place within the entertainment industry, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II plays a character named Simon Williams, who is a Haitian immigrant that comes over to the United States, and he is a huge fan of the energy. Well, he's an aspiring actor, but he also is obsessed with this character from a movie he saw as a young boy named Wonder Man, and he wants to ultimately play this character. There's a lot more that goes into that, but it's a very different kind of series for what Marvel typically has been doing. And so having said all of that, leading into it, without giving away too many spoilers to start us off, Mikey, what did you think of this sort of episodic little limited series that we got of Wonder Man here on Disney Plus?
Yeah. I was a big fan of Wonder Man. I feel like this is a direction I think Marvel needs to kind of stick with. I mean, as far as even just the television way that they've been going, meaning the Marvel spotlights, just focusing on a character, throwing them in the midst of this story. I think it works from what we've seen in the past a few projects, but Wonder Man itself I think is a really good show that I feel like captures the heart in a way that we haven't really seen it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
It's very meta, which I appreciate. And it's like it hints at, like Darian, as you put it, this Hollywood studio-ish world within Marvel, while still kind of like keeping it very, tying it to our real world. I don't know. There's so many like references that are just like, oh wow, you wouldn't even think that this exists in the way that it does in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it does. But just down to the story, I feel like Yahya is definitely one of my favorite superheroes that we've seen showcased. Next to Moon Knight, but I think it's really because it's not even like the superheroes themselves. It's the way that they're writing these characters. I can't really say too much without getting into it, but it's very different than what's being thrown in our faces on the big screens and everything. And the last thing I'll say, I really, really appreciated Ben Kingsley in this show. I think that he's such a good actor. And just to have been used once in a previous film, and even that role was funny, but like what they did with him, but there was still so much more. So I very much appreciated what they did with his character, and I really appreciated the duo of Simon and him in this.
Definitely,
film.
100%. Vinny, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I really love this show. I honestly might go on record of blazing this show because this honestly has some of my favorite writing out of the entire MCU. Is it my favorite product from the MCU? No, but it is up there. It has so much charm. It's seriously, genuinely funny. I was laughing out loud multiple times, and it just had me hooked. The pacing is great. The writing's great. There's so much character, and both of the performances are so well done, and they're so just lovable characters. I loved it.
I think that, agreeing with both of you guys, the biggest key for this is the writing.
Yeah.
Because you have two different sides of the spectrum with the two writers that they have on this series. Destin Daniel Cretton and Andrew Guest, I believe Andrew Guest is the other writer's name. So Destin is a really well-achieved director. He's done smaller indie stuff like Short Term 12, which if you haven't seen that movie, it's a fantastic movie. Then he did things like The Glass Castle, Just Mercy, and then eventually getting to the MCU with Shang-Chi. And then Andrew Guest wrote 26 episodes of Community. He wrote on 30.
Really?
He wrote on 30 Rock. He wrote on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So like that gives you the element of the formulaic sitcom that works within this world that we're not accustomed to seeing. While Destin was post Shang-Chi, the first project he was supposed to do was supposed to be the Kang Dynasty, which ended up getting wiped, and he was going to be the next big Avengers director before everything kind of went to shit because of the unfortunate thing that ended up happening with Jonathan Majors, and they have to redo everything basically. So it all starts with the writing, because I do agree that it has to set things up that feel different within this MCU, this world that we've grown so used to, because that I think is it's like the easiest thing ever, but it's also so sad that like to get excited about something within Marvel right now, you really need to just do something different.
Yeah.
It doesn't even really necessarily matter exactly how different it is, but you have to do something that feels different than everything else. And that's why I think WandaVision is so beloved. That's why I think Loki, I mean, not that, again, I think WandaVision is a good show. Loki, same thing. And Moon Knight, I think, is a little bit more divisive, but the fans that love Moon Knight love Moon Knight. And I'm one of those people. I know you're one of those people. Vinny, I'm not so sure your thoughts on Moon Knight, but do you enjoy it?
I like Moonlight.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
But that's a show that it could be divisive for typical MCU watchers because it's a very different tone and it's a very different vibe. So it all starts with the writing. Yaya and Ben Kingsley in the show, like you said, the chemistry between those two is what makes the show an upper echelon Marvel product. Because if now I'm gonna go on record saying this too. I don't know if I know we've had a lot of Marvel podcasts. We went through the whole recap of Marvel years ago. Check that pod if you want to check out our thoughts before. This is like years ago.
That's right.
But the Mandarin decision in Iron Man 3 is one of my top 3 least favorite things in all of Marvel ever. And I think it's because it's Iron Man's number 1 foe. It's supposed to be this big buildup. You actually could have done it with Kingsley, where it's like he would be a menacing Mandarin. You see it, like you literally still see it on screen. But the way that they've now essentially, lack of a better term, avenged that process and that thought of how they're deciding to deal with the Mandarin and now Trevor Slattery, I came full circle on it because of how talented Ben Kingsley is and because of what he decided to do with this character of Trevor Slattery that now we've seen through 2 of Destin's projects, from Shang-Chi now leading into Wonder Man. So I would love for you, Mikey, to talk, and we can start to get into spoilers at this point. So if you guys haven't watched the show, just pause it, come back to it, but we all recommend it. You should watch it if you haven't already. What was it about the chemistry of those 2 characters that made it work so well for you? Because we have a lot of duos in Marvel, and this is a makeshift duo, and this is a duo that's brought together because of the Department of the Department of Defensive Control, something like that. DODC is what the acronym is. So we could just stick with that. But regardless, Arian Moayed's character brings Kingsley into sort of Simon Williams' orbit. So what is it for you about that, bringing those characters together, that worked on a bigger level, that made you enjoy the show as much as you did?
I think for me, it was their individual stories that played so much role, and I feel like this show explored both of those stories. I mean, granted, with Kingsley's character and I forget. I don't know why I forget his
Trevor
actual name.
Slattery.
Trevor. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yes. With Trevor's story again, it was already kind of introduced to us, and I thought I agree. I wish that it wasn't the best move on Marvel's part for that to happen, especially then to introduce Shang-Chi later on in the series, and as far as the Iron Man introduction and having it be like another bit essentially. But I think that there was so much to set up with that character still, just like not even knowing where they could have taken the character. There was still something there. But I think for me, it was also really Simon's character, that because there was so much heart, but there was so much yet to be explored. And each episode, you were always uncovering something with his background that set up the stage for him, as far as him being lonely, or as far as him having like a touch of bullying, and then like to have like the episode with his family and to see like that playing like such a significant role, and then to see Trevor kind of also, I feel like with Simon's story, it was a lot of acceptance with this show, and I feel like Trevor also had to equally go through that same amount of acceptance, despite coming in as like a villainous sort of character still, you know what I'm saying? And it's like the way that they set this up, where it's like there's so many perspectives from both sides, and there's so much background, but they're both still placed in this particular moment, and are just kind of like forced to. I don't know. It's something about it that just works so effortlessly smooth. It's just, I feel like Ben Kingsley, him as Trevor, just being able to display the heart in this newfound family, despite that whole other side that the audience knows. I don't know. It's like he's playing like this, like two sides of the coin in this film, in this show, but he does it so effortlessly. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like it's still focused on the heart, and I say that because I think that Ben Kingsley has some of the most profound lines in this show. Like I was telling Vinny, we talked about the show a little bit before, but there's one line where he kind of says about how like acting isn't a job, it's a calling. Little things like that, where it's like it plays into both the characters and what their drive is. They just want to be actors. They just want to be successful in this calling that they feel has come on their lives, despite the challenges that have just been thrown in their faces, looking very differently, but still being able to come together and unite with those challenges. So it just works in that aspect between the two. Just performance wise, they both just deliver so much.
Yeah, definitely. Vinny, what about you in terms of the chemistry between Yaya and Ben Kingsley's characters?
I love it. For me, a lot of it stems on Kingsley's quietness and Yaya's looking for approval, and it's so human. This story is so human, and that's why I love superhero stories, right? And that's something that Marvel has been missing recently, is that superheroes are supposed to be, yes, they're extravagant. Superman, perfect example. Like literally like godly like powers, all of that, and yet he is more human than anyone, right? And it's Peter Parker. We're telling human stories. Peter Parker, it's not about him stopping crime. It's balancing that life while he has to deal with MJ and his relationship there, while he's balancing college work, and is he gonna fail his classes, right? Human stuff. I apologize if I'm like clogged up. I'm a little sick, audience. Anywho, that human aspect is brought here because everyone at some point in their life has wanted to feel validated in some sort of way, has been seeking for that sense of approval, and we get that from both Yaya and Ben Kingsley's character, and we get them for both their characters of Trevor and Simon. But in different ways. And Kingsley portrays that very quietly. Obviously, he's trying to keep his secret, but I think we see it so well done in the callback episode where he has to play this other actor's wife in an improvised scene, and all he says is no. He doesn't say anything else. He just goes no, and I feel like that honestly encapsulates his character, that scene, because he doesn't have to say much. He just kind of letting everyone else do it for him. And a lot of the time, Yaya is like finishing his sentences in ways or putting things together, and Ben's like, and Trevor's character. God, I'm getting them mixed up. Trevor's character, or no, Trevor, Ben's character, is kind of like, oh yeah, that's what I meant. And it's such a great comedy element. I think that's a great sense of comedy and adds to the chemistry in an amazing way.
I agree. I think the biggest thing for me, which you realize kind of after the season kind of wraps up, is that it's the beauty in their first meeting, which I'm trying to remember if it's actually in the first episode or the second episode. Where they're in the movie theater and they're watching Midnight Cowboy, which I don't know if either of you guys have seen Midnight Cowboy, but it's like the perfect movie to actually encapsulate exactly what the relationship between Trevor and Simon is as well. Because even if you go to the end of when we're talking spoilers at this point, but Midnight Cowboy, and sorry, spoiling Midnight Cowboy for a movie that's from 1960. But it's basically that like Trevor is the Ratso Rizzo, Dustin Hoffman, to Yaya's big new time actor, like staggering kind of in height and stature that John Voight was. And Ratso dies, and basically what happens in this is that Trevor leaves himself out to die when he makes the decision that he ultimately makes at the end of the show. So there's the beauty of that wrap up too, how it's like literally an ode to cinema, similar to the studio, to where they have this sort of this entire wrap up that you don't even really as a viewer recognize if you haven't seen Midnight Cowboy, that they're basically mirroring that story within Wonder Man as well, to tell the story about this incredible masculine relationship between Simon and, like you said, you called it found family, Mikey. He steps in for the role of his father, is basically what it is that Trevor Slattery is coming in and he is the person to inspire Simon to go and take these leaps of faith and to do the box breathing and to understand that he's more than what he believes that he is and what his brother says he is. And when you get to the flashback of which we open the show with, where you see Simon's dad taking him to see Wonder Man for the first time in the movies, and he's the one to kind of be like, you possess talent. I'm not just a parent telling you that you were good in the play. Like, you're going to do this one day. And Trevor's the one that doubles down on that and solidifies this, like you talked about a little bit, Mikey, that what's the word I'm looking for? When you're you don't believe you have it. I can't think of it right now. I'm losing it. It's basically the insecurity. That's the word I'm looking for. Kind of Trevor validating that Simon doesn't need to be insecure anymore, that he has the capability, he has the talent, and he is the person essentially holding his hand through it, while also giving Simon the mental power and the stability to kind of move on and control it for not only his acting, but when we get to the end of the series, you see that he harnesses it even as his superpowered being.
Yeah,
you know?
And I was just about to tie it into that. The way that they're able to play that double entendre throughout the film, by like it's like by making acting the metaphor for like the superhero, the powers, but then also like the powers can also be looked at as like vice versa. I think that's where the show then becomes very genius, because I think that's where the heart is, because everything you just explained as far as like that guidance from his dad and Trevor, as far as the acting world and the acceptance and being able to do that, like it literally stems into his own powers, and then him being able to accept that, oh wait, he's also Wonder Man. And I was watching it, and it was like one of those moments where it was like, oh wow, like he is Wonder Man, like, you know what I'm saying, like he legitimately has like these powers. So I think that for you to put it that way, I think it is really like, even it's a lot more insightful like looking back on it now, just because like I hadn't really thought about Trevor playing like the father role. But you're right, I feel like it's crazy that they're able to just play off the two of those so easily, and again, that's where I think that the heart really falls into this. I think that yeah, and not even really needing to focus on the superpowers as a whole. I think that that's also where this is really smart, because you can focus just strictly on the acting and have it be like, for anybody that isn't a normal Marvel watcher, just a superhero watcher, like it could just be that. But then to have just like the little touch of the suit, it just works.
Well, it kind of it's almost similar to Vinny. I don't know if you felt similar watching it. It's almost like what James Gunn is aiming to do with the DCU, where he's trying to showcase that there are superpowered beings that live within this world. There's other people dealing with the repercussions or the ramifications of that, because if you look back and watch a lot of the Marvel stuff, like, you actually really don't get a lot of that. Like, they're starting to kind of a little bit tap into that kind of stuff, but like the fact that that's why I think the Doorman episode, not only, I mean, it's very funny, but it also gives now that lens of I love that Marvel does an aside episode, because it's so important in TV nowadays to kind of have those episodes that feel like they have nothing to do with the actual show, and then they have the whole comeback around moment where you're like, oh, that's super impactful. That means something like within the psyche of Simon that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. And now it's important to realize that, like, going forward, hopefully, if it's canon within Marvel, like, there are superpowered beings that are just walking around that we're unaware of. And I do think that that's going to be something that maybe they wind up doing when there's the full reset. I hope they go in that direction, because again, in the comics, that's so important. There's like literally just superpowered beings living their own lives. Yeah. And like, you have to deal with what does that mean for your life, and what does that mean for the people around you? So in watching this series, Vinny, did you feel that what they were doing was kind of something similar to what James is going for in the DCU, where they're trying to establish that kind of foundation of this is possible within this world, that we can start to explore things like this?
Yeah, 100%. I felt that the way James Gunn writes, specifically Peacemaker, you get that in Peacemaker a lot, of how the superhuman, supernatural, like, we're in a very mystical comic book world, that it has to be affecting and playing into other more elements, like even our street level superheroes like Daredevil and stuff. They get into that, but they never care to mention, like, you know, like the crazy shit that is also simultaneously happening across the block from them. So, but in this, it feels very grounded in that way. So I 100% agree. I see the similarity in why people would compare it to that.
Yeah. I mean, Slattery, like, first of all, I want to say that I think Yaya, I haven't seen a lot from him before. He's done comic book stuff before. He played Black Manta and Aquaman, where you don't even see his face basically for the whole time. He's wearing the costume. But I do think that he does a great job here as well. But there's something about the way that, like you said, Kingsley kind of presents, and maybe it's because he's like a thespian, that he like completely reflects the whole aspect of the importance of acting. And then there's also versus celebrity. Like, that's a big part of the conversation within this show as well, which is really interesting, and you never think they would cover in a Marvel show. But it deals with, again, like, and that's a lot of what Doorman kind of covers, where you have this guy who's a doorman at a bar. You get, I mean, I'm not the biggest Josh Gad fan, but what a great cameo. Like, one of my favorite things he's ever done is this. The fact that just the one line where he talks about how Imagine Dragons made one of the most important songs of the last 3 years is so great to me. And yes, I also laughed out loud watching the show when he said it. But what that episode really does is it gives you a glimpse into, like, how someone could be a running shtick and it could actually wind up ruining their life. Like, it could be something where, and you see a little bit of it in other things, like in documentaries with celebrity and kind of what The Weeknd tried to do with Hurry Up Tomorrow. But it's executed better here in like a 35-minute thing with a character that we've never met before. And I think that that's the most exciting thing for me about what this show was able to do, because it explored conversations that not only are surprising for Marvel, but they're good conversations to be having about this industry in general, because there's not a lot, like you said, there's not a lot of meta stuff that's happening right now. It's just it's ironic that of course Marvel puts this out on the tail of the studio when it's like the most popular meta thing since Entourage that they're doing. But I do think it stands its own on its own as its own kind of thing that they've done really well.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because I feel like Ben did deliver, but I am still gonna give a lot of praise to Yaya. He has always been a favorite of mine, but I feel like he's always been in performances where he's either kind of like looked at as more of the supporting, or he's just like tucked in the cast so much you don't even realize he's there. I know that they redid Candyman, and he was the modern day Candyman. He was in The Greatest Showman.
I haven't seen either of those movies,
wow.
So that's my
He and
that's my blind spot with him.
Then he was in obviously the Aquaman movies, and I thought he was the best part of those movies, if there's any good parts of those movies. But I feel like to have him in a leading role, it's really cool to see. I think that he still delivers a lot of heart. And I think that again, not just heart, but there's a lot that he has to deliver in this with just either his face, or I don't know. It's just little things like his character just like over talking too much, things like that. I feel like it's things that he does really well. But again, I think Ben, like we said, he complements it. Another character I really want to bring up because I feel like it was a really important role was his mother. His father played a huge role, I feel like, in establishing the setting of the stage for the character at a young age. But the mother, I think, then also kind of solidified it and finished it with her, especially with her speech to Ben Kingsley, to Trevor, when she was talking about how as a young boy, like I think he said like thank you to her or something, and she mentioned that like she didn't look at it as a serious thing as at first until she realized that like he didn't have anybody, and there was like such like a layer in that monologue that like that went on even further to his character. I feel like opening up so much that it was just like wow, like that was really like really powerful. And so I think that family was an underlooked thing in this show, but it was still a very important thing in this show. And I think like having like the episode where you saw the I forget exactly whose birthday it was.
It was her birthday.
It was her birthday.
Yeah, the cookout that they have for her. Yeah,
yes, and even just seeing like a little touch of Haitian culture in that episode. It was like those were things that I appreciate. I remember watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it was like those little moments where the two of them, despite everything else happening, where they were just like at Sam's old, like,
on the boat.
Yeah,
describing Louisiana culture. I totally agree.
Right?
Because it helps you dive into the characters a lot more and not make them such caricatures because they're superheroes.
100%. And Vinny, you were touching on this too. It's like these are the things that you want to see in like a Spider-Man movie, which is, I'm sure we'll touch on this towards the end, but I know that Destin, one of the writers and the director, he's writing or directing the new Spider-Man movie. So I think that that could be a major
win. I forgot
win.
he's doing Spider-Man.
Yeah, like I think that could be a major win. I think that, I don't know, just touching in on those moments are just so important. So I really wanted to just make note with, or at least give praise to the mother as well.
Yeah.
I was. Did you have something, Vinny?
No, I just that was brilliantly put. His performance is just so. I already knew I was gonna love him and his character. Oh my god, sorry. Because the opening scene is so brilliant of how he just keeps over talking. You're like, oh, I like this guy. Oh shit, man. And it's like, oh, I've been there. Oh fuck. And then he gets fired. And then his day just gets worse and worse. His girlfriend breaks up with him right after that happens. Like, and you just immediately feel for him, the way he portrays that, the little things. The mirror scenes in movies are very cliche, but it was so well done here because of his performance and all of the above. Like you said, the whole family, the mother, they all make this show so human.
Yeah, I was gonna say my biggest thing that I loved about Yaya's performance in this is how he dealt with isolation. because, and that's why I think, because there's not a lot of major supporting characters in this show, like nobody that I think is going to have a significant thing in the MCU going forward, but like it kind of does in a better way. It reminds me, the family dynamic reminds me of like what they did with Kamala Khan and Miss Marvel, but in a much smaller vacuum, because they're playing the roles in his life to show, regardless of what he's been through, he always felt like in terms of the relationship with his mother, he always felt like he had to do better for her, and he wanted to be able to provide for her because his brother's able to provide everything for her. And his brother never gave him the respect. The fact that he tells him he's not a working actor, and at the same episode, the cookout episode, which I would argue maybe the best episode of the show. There's a lot of good episodes, obviously, in the 8 episodes, but that one, it's our biggest pivot point of the series, where you're getting a lot more into the relationship. You get the kind of the revelation at the end of the episode where, well, I guess a little bit even before that, where Trevor is witnessing what Simon does possess, and we're really seeing it for the first time on screen. And so Yaya having all these characters on the periphery, not Trevor, but his mother, his brother, Von Kovac, the director, his ex-girlfriend, the way he feels insecure around the journalist. All of these characters are such an important foil to understanding how isolated Simon feels. And how another part of it is like, and I wish we get a little bit more with his dad. And really what I wish we got a little bit of the in-between where like his dad passed away, because it's like, that is, at least in what I read from the character, it's like, that's where the turning point happened. You know, like that's where he kind of started to feel really isolated and was like, well, this is the person that I can rely on, and I can, like his dad in the little scene he gets, he tells him, he's like, you're going to stay home from school today. And it's just because he knows that he's not ready to go and face whatever school has for him that day or whatever it is. And so I think that I'm really excited to see where they go with his character going forward. And not in the typical, like, how do we make this connect for Doomsday? Nothing like that. I don't care about that literally at all. I'm just curious on where they decide to go with what is the next part of this journey now with him and Trevor, because he broke Trevor out of jail. You know,
I have theories. I do. I think that Marvel could continue this show. Do I really want them to? No, to be honest. I think that these presentations, these specials, should just be like one season or limited type things. And if you want to bring them back in like another project for an appearance or something like that, I don't think this story really needs it. But I do think that there's something even bigger that Marvel is doing here that they've now done a few times. And I think I'm catching on to their little tricks. But I've noticed that Marvel, whenever they're about to introduce something huge into the cinematic universe, they tease it in a way where they won't fully reveal it. They will reveal it, but they'll hint at it, or they'll I'm just gonna stop being vague and stop as I'm talking. Before, for example, in Deadpool and Wolverine, we saw that Gambit was revealed. Literally right before that, they released X-Men '97 for those people. They did another thing just recently. I forget exactly what it was, but before it came to the big screen, they released it in like an animated series before, or they did something. I forget what it was, but Marvel now at this point, I'm realizing they introduce things for the fans who aren't really aware in a television thing before they really expand on it in the movies. And this is such a big thing that's not being talked about enough, I think. But in this show, Simon, I don't know why I forgot his name. I'm sorry. In this show, Simon, it's clear that he is born with these powers, and they never fully touch on how he got them. And don't get me wrong, they could continue it, and he could have touched something. Who knows? But it's something where he was born with these powers, and his whole family is just aware of it, and they've accepted it, you know. And it's something that like he hasn't fully accepted, but he's just living with these powers. And it's very, very similar to what I think is a mutant in this world. And because he's just born with it, and it's just something that's normal. And I feel like this is Marvel's way. We already saw it with Miss Marvel, where they kind of hinted that she's like the first mutant in this world. We know with Doomsday they're trying to bring in all the X-Men and all of the mutants, and that's a phase they're trying to work into. I think that ultimately this is just going to be the start of introducing that there are people in this world that were just born with powers. And they're more classified in the mutant stage. Because I 100% would classify Simon as a mutant.
Yeah.
You know, and they might not ever touch on this with his character, but I think it's just a breadcrumb as far as what we're about to see in the cinematic universe, as far as mutants becoming more of a forefront.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think.
Yeah.
Is.
I would agree with that.
I'm sorry it took so long to get there.
No, don't apologize. It's a great theory. And I would. Do you feel similarly, Vinny?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think he for sure is a mutant like this Marvel. And yeah, I'm just so curious. I mean, this is a whole other discussion for a whole other day, but I'm just curious how Marvel is going to handle that, especially since we know that they are rebooting the X-Men after Doomsday and Secret Wars. They're going to have their own X-Men now and all this stuff. So I'm just curious how they're going to go about it.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Well, this is the first project of a very big year of Marvel projects. This is the most low key of them all, and we all enjoyed it very much. We'll get to our scores in a minute, but after this, we got Daredevil Born Again Season 2 returning soon, Vinny, which we covered on the channel. I don't know if you're caught up yet or not, Mikey, but excited for that because we're going to see the return of Jessica Jones and some other things. We're getting another special presentation with the Punisher getting his own special. We have obviously Spider-Man Brand New Day, the second of Destin Daniel Cretton's projects that's going to hit in July, and then Avengers Doomsday comes out at the end of the year. It's going to be a big one. So
Is Vision Quest still coming
Vision Quest is also due to come out, I believe, in the fall. I think you're right on that. So Vision Quest is another one. And probably some animated things along the way, but we'll have to come back and give our thoughts on all those projects, and maybe we'll do a preview episode at some point as well. But it's time at this point for scores. So this is the limited series Wonder Man. I just read a little quote from Andrew Guest, one of the showrunners, and he said it was meant to be a one-season thing, and he said he hopes that the fans like it enough that he'll return in something in the future. So having said that, it's a fully formed sort of beginning to end, but where are we at with scores? What are you thinking, Mikey?
Again, I like the performances. I liked a lot of it overall. I think that this is gonna be the start of Marvel's, I don't want to say comeback, because we always say that and it's never that. But I do think that this is gonna be one of the best Marvel years we've seen in a while. But I'm proud of this. I'm very happy with this project. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Vinny?
I'm gonna give Wonder Man a 9 out of 10. I really like this. Like I said, it's seriously funny. So engaging. I haven't been this engaged within a television series that is so fast paced, and especially for like I never felt that for Marvel. I think that's the reason too why I'm holding this show to such a high rating and why I loved it so much is because I'm not gonna lie. Aside from Loki season 2 specifically, every single Marvel show has really kind of lost me within its pacing, or just like, oh, I like moments. Like Moon Knight, for example. The episode where it's in his mind, love that. Everything else, sometimes it's really fun, and then you'll have like episode 3 where it's just like, it's kind of boring. These episodes are way too long for no reason. But this was like, banger after banger after every episode. So good. Also the scene where he punches the dude's head.
Dude,
I actually screamed out loud. I literally said, holy fuck, and I like started screaming. So
I thought it was real, dude. I paused the show and I was about to text you. Like, I can't believe this just happened. Then I realized that he's sleeping. I agree though. So this is the biggest thing that I want people to take away from this, and why I think the show is as good as it is. This is the first series of that new regime that Marvel brought in to redo TV. Because of the problems that you just brought up, Vinny, in terms of they were not the Marvel just said, we got all the film people and we'll just put them in TV, and it doesn't work. Doesn't always work. It does not always work. So they finally brought in some real showrunners that have experience in television. Andrew Guest, who I said wrote on things like Community and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and 30 Rock.
Yes,
He is the showrunner of this show, along with Destin Daniel Cretton. So having both sides of the coin definitely worked in favor of the show, and I hope we get the same thing with Vision Quest. They brought in the showrunner of Star Trek Picard for that. Hopefully we get a similar vibe with that. I think that the Punisher, they brought in somebody from TV to do the special presentation as well. So having said all that, it's a good start to this new, like you said, hopefully it's the comeback of Marvel. I'm going to give Wonder Man an 8 as well. I think it's a really fun series. It's also very rewatchable. It's like one of those Marvel shows that now I can go back to and we can enjoy it. And we can be like, oh, this moment's so great. Oh, this moment's so funny. Oh, I love this moment between Simon and Trevor. So hopefully all the people that have kind of tuned out to Marvel because of the most recent stuff, hopefully you wind up watching the show because I think you'll really enjoy it. It's really funny, it's really contained, and it's something that is very different for the MCU and for Marvel. So please watch Wonder Man and let us know your thoughts if you have already watched the series, what your thoughts on the show were in the comment section. We'd love to have a conversation with you guys. We check the comments all the time, and we'd love to talk to you guys about your thoughts on the show, whether they're positive or negative. Give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. We are covering a bunch of stuff on the channel right now. We are also covering week to week right now. We're covering A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Game of Thrones spinoff on HBO. There's some other television upcoming that we're going to be covering. Kind of a weaker month in terms of movies right now, but we got some other stuff upcoming in February, like Wuthering Heights. I just saw a few movies from Sundance. I'm going to be doing reviews for that as well, so please check all that stuff out and follow us on social media if you don't already. All that stuff is below me in the video, and it's also in our YouTube description. Just signing off, I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Mikey Peniston.
And I'm Vinny Albano.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.